Hello.
Hey Steve, how's it going?
I am well, Derek. How are you?
Pretty great.
What have you been up to this week?
Well, I went to see Arlo Guthrie.
Nice. How is he?
Oh, he's not as young as he used to be. The concert's in Louisville, and the audience members were pretty older than me.
Old, yeah.
Yeah, it's the 50th anniversary of the Alice's Restaurant song coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So he's on his 50th anniversary tour. And so lots of people who are 70 are in the audience.
Wow.
And so I was on the younger side.
That's old.
Of the audience.
How old is he?
Yeah,
70.
yeah, 70. Man, something like that. And yeah, his voice isn't quite what it used to be, but he holds it together still.
Mm-hmm.
Still twinkle in his eye, and the audience seemed enthusiastic about it. It is interesting to me to watch baby boomers fail at smartphones.
Oh, were they trying to smartphone and failing to smartphone?
Yeah. You know, pointing the smartphones at Arlo and recording images of him. You know, the way the kids do.
Trying to take pictures but failing.
Yeah.
And then asking their significant other how
No,
to
there
take
was some
pictures.
succeeding, but also some not succeeding.
Yeah.
And sometimes the phones would ring because these people don't know how to
turn off the
the
phone.
volume,
Yeah.
etc. So they've adopted the social mores of their grandchildren, and without the competence of their grandchildren. Right. yeah. But no, it was delightful. You know, Arlo thing, City of New Orleans is an old favorite of mine. He graciously provided it for me with all the Arlo twinkle.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, that's good. That's good stuff.
Yeah. What have you been up to?
Well, now I want to talk about your old people.
Okay, well that's fine.
Do you know what a Norman door is?
Is that 2 words?
Yeah, Norman, like some dude, and door, like a door.
With a knob and a portal and all?
Yeah, like you do.
Threshold?
Yeah.
Lemon?
Yeah.
Alright. No, what's a Norman door?
Here, let's watch this video about Norman doors.
Okay. Are they named after Don
There's
Norman?
this
Oh my goodness, I saw this, but I didn't watch
The
it.
office that I hate
Great.
so much.
I didn't mean to watch it.
God damn it. You ever get this door wrong?
Pretty regularly.
Have you seen people misuse it?
All the time, every day. Constantly.
It's because the handles don't communicate the right way to use it. Oh,
As soon as
never
you
mind.
start looking for confusing doors, they are everywhere.
It's push.
Why? I feel like Roman Mars would know about this.
This is 99% invisible, and those doors you hate are called Norman doors.
What's a Norman door?
Don Norman wrote the essential book about design. He is the Norman of the Norman door.
Alright, and where is this guy?
You must go to San Diego.
Okay.
Do you know what his book's called?
Uh,
I think I may have read
the
it.
design of things.
Yeah. It's a good book.
Something like that.
Gee, you know, it's hard to describe what I am.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
he's been a professor of psychology, professor of cognitive science, professor of computer science, a vice president of advanced technology at Apple. But for our purposes,
I was spending a year in England, and I got so frustrated with my inability to use the light switches and the water taps and the doors.
Design of Everyday Things. It is a good book.
That's it.
I did read his shit.
If I continually get a door wrong, is it my fault? No. In fact, if you continually get it wrong, it's a good, but if other people continue to get it wrong, good sign that it's a really bad door.
a Norman door is one where the design tells you to do the opposite of what you're actually supposed to do, or gives the wrong signal and needs a sign to correct it.
Why does it need an instruction manual? That is, why do you have to have a sign that says push or pull? Why not make it obvious?
It can be obvious if it's designed right.
There are a couple really simple, basic principles of design, and one of them I'll call discoverability. When I look at something, I should be able to discover what operations I can do.
The principle applies to a whole lot more than doors.
And it's amazing with many of our computer systems today. You look at it, there's no way of knowing what's possible. Should I tap it once or twice, or even triple tap? So discoverability, when it's not there, well, you don't know how to use something.
Another is feedback.
And so many times there's no feedback. You have no idea what happened or why it happened.
And these principles form the basis of how designers and engineers work today. commonly known as user or human-centered design.
I decided at one point the word user was a bit degrading. Why not call people people? And it's amazingly simple and amazingly seldom practiced. We call it iterative, which it goes around in a circle. We go out and we observe what is happening today. We observe people doing tasks. And from that we say, oh, we have some ideas. Here's what we should perhaps propose to do.
Then you prototype your solution and test it.
Quite often these are wrong at first. But each time we go around the circle, we do a better job of making the device until the point we're actually making something that really works.
And this process has spread all over the world.
And it turns out it's improving lives.
From better everyday things like the ones that Don wrote about,
To using the same process to solve huge problems in public health in developing countries.
water,
Sanitation, farming, lots more. So would it be a better human-centered door?
An ideal door is one that as I walk up to it and walk through it, I'm not even aware that I had opened the door and shut it. So if you had a door which had a flat plate, what could you do? Nothing. The only thing you can do is push. That's it. You wouldn't need a sign. A flat plate, you push.
this kind of push bar with the piece sticking out on one side works well too, so you can see what side you're supposed to push on.
The vertical bars could go either way. A simple little hand thing, though, sort of indicates, oh,
But we still have terrible, terrible doors in the world. So many of them.
there are lots of things in life that are fairly standardized, and therefore, whether I buy this house or not is not a function of whether it has good doors in it. So, except for safety reasons, doors tend not to be improved.
But the tyranny of bad doors must end.
I think that it's a really shitty design. In fact, they put pull handle when it's a push. And it should be a flat panel here. And not a pull handle. That's how I feel about this experience, please. I agree.
You're right, Becky. You're goddamn right. And if we all thought like you, well, we might just design a better world together.
It won't open because it's a security door. What the f*** are you two doing?
Hey, so as you can see, since
The
I
Snatch?
started
Is that what
making this
that's from?
video, they've,
I don't remember.
since changed the
I don't know.
door
I
a
haven't
little
seen it
bit.
since it came out, but I remember
It's a
liking it.
step in the right direction. Thank you so
Brad
much for
Pitt
watching.
piking
Thank you,
around.
99%
Yeah.
Invincible.
Cool. So, good stuff
Yeah.
there, right?
Better
so,
design, better.
so a couple of interesting things jump to mind about that. So, doors are usually made out of stuff, you know, like glass.
Yeah. Not in Neverwhere. They're made out of people.
Yeah, but let's
Go ahead.
let's leave that aside for a second. So, glass and metal and wood and door-like stuff, right? But smartphones aren't made out of any of those things. I mean, they are, but they're not hard to use because they're made out of glass.
Yeah.
Right? So it occurs to me that smartphones should have a dumb mode.
Like a grandparent mode.
Yeah.
So like there's a switch in the settings
Yeah.
that switches it from. See, I've thought that about like Windows operating systems.
Uh-huh.
Microsoft's official position of the reason Windows is such shit is
Uh-huh.
that it has to be usable by everybody,
Uh-huh.
and so they hide the real options in awkward
Right.
places. But I've always thought that there ought to just be a button, and I know what the hell I'm doing button.
Uh-huh.
And once you push it, then it's designed for a tech person,
Right.
and then you could just switch it off. And maybe sometimes if you weren't in a techie mood, a tech person would play it in dumb mode.
Yeah.
But
yeah, so all I'm saying is that Apple should go off, keep the same OS,
yeah,
make an entirely new GUI
yeah, yeah.
for it, and just have a
For
switch.
anybody who doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah, and it should only allow you to have like 2 apps,
Mm-hmm.
and they should also have to meet the dumbed down criteria,
Mhm,
and that's it.
Well, maybe they could vet apps. I mean,
Oh,
Apple does
yeah.
actively
Right?
prune their garden,
Of apps.
unlike
yeah.
some people. So
there could be
so
like
they could just
grandmother
ensure that if
approved.
it had a mode, then it would go on the App Store.
yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds like a great
Yeah.
idea. Let's do that.
No. I mean, it's brilliant, but other people will have to do all the work.
Oh yeah, that's what I meant. But let's do that.
By let's, you meant other people?
Yeah, that's what I meant. That's usually what I meant, yes.
Alright.
Awesome. Good stuff.
So, do you want to talk about version control?
I do actually.
Okay, great. So, I'm gonna tell you what I use. I'm gonna start because I know that mine is simpler than whatever you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I use Git on the command line,
Uh-huh.
and there's not a lot of clean design on the command line. It's all gangly, and you have to actually know what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay. But I suspect that so what we've been using is just Git, push, pull,
Mm-hmm.
that sort of check out standard Git command line on the terminal in OS X or Fedora, depending on which box we're playing with. But and then if I'm working on changes, I have a MAMP server running on my Mac so that I can use Firefox to browse to my local copy of the site.
Mm-hmm.
And if I make changes, I can immediately see them there when I make changes in my Git directory.
Yes.
And so I have a local repository that I'm playing with, and then when I get it to where I like it, I can push it up to the dev repository,
Mm-hmm.
and then other people can look at it and vet my changes and things.
What's the development stack of your app?
LAMP, using CakePHP for the MVC.
Okay. So you're...
And it runs on AWS.
Uh-huh.
But
cool.
Fundamentally, it's a LAMP
cool
thing. And so actually, it uses the live database even when I pull it to my thing, rather than using a local database. So I have to be careful not to do anything stupid to the database, even when I'm playing with the code.
Okay.
I could change that if I wanted to go crazy and play with the database. I would change that, but normally I just don't bother.
Right.
So, and then after people vet the development copy, then occasionally we'll sync the dev copy up to the master copy, so that it's all live.
Right. So the only thing that's bonkers about that, to me, the only thing that stands out to me about that is the word "we."
Okay.
So when you're...
the whole point of version control is to permit collaboration.
Yeah. So
if you're working on your own, you don't need any of this.
So you write some code.
Yeah.
On dev.
Well, I do on my local copy.
On your local copy of dev.
Yeah.
And your partner in crime
may simultaneously be editing his local copy
of dev. And then what do you do to push to dev?
Okay. I would pull any changes before I saved after I had made changes.
Yeah.
In case he had pushed changes since I pulled the repository.
Yeah.
Like if I'm starting code, I pull everything down.
Right.
And then when I'm done coding and I like what I've got, I pull everything down again.
Yeah.
To get his changes in.
Yeah.
And then I merge and then I push back up.
But how do you know that his stuff didn't break your stuff?
Yeah. Well, Git takes care of that. So like if there are no like conflicts, like if he's
changes on the same line, like in the same file.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then everything goes up. But when I pull the new changes, I make sure everything's okay.
And you have
and then I merge.
system test framework to like tell you that?
No, I poke it with a stick at all the relevant places.
Right.
I know what I've been working on. If I'm worried there might be a conflict, I can ask what he's been working on.
Okay.
And yeah.
How big is the app?
In megs?
Sure.
150 or so.
Okay.
It's like I said, MVC, and so there are probably 20 controllers and maybe 5 main views that the user actually sees, 5 main pages to play around with. Plus there's a sales page.
Cool.
It's just like a landing page WordPress thing that's separate but connected.
Yeah. That all sounds right and reasonable and fine.
Okay. Well, what we've switched to recently, or what we're in the process of switching to, do you know about Atlassian?
Mm-hmm.
Do you use them?
Well,
Jira is and Bitbucket.
So, I don't either personally or at work, but I have this open as the tutorial on how to talk about Gitflow.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Yeah, anyway, we're switching over to their stuff right now, and it seems like it's adding a GUI layer on top. And so I'm pleased that yes, chocolate. That's what Atlassian provides. Chocolate on top of my Git.
Yes.
Like a British asshole underneath a Hershey's bottle.
Delicious.
All right.
I've always wanted. Yeah, awesome, great.
So,
yeah.
but I'm glad that I played with the command line first. Before we started adding this layer. What my sysadmin says is that these new layers, developers love them because they are moving some of the effort over to the sysadmin side, which he's less enthusiastic about. But he's spearheading this process because it's wildly superior.
Yeah.
And along with this, we're also
So
using new collaboration tools that are also part of this Atlassian.
yeah. So maybe that's true, and some. I mean, some
About
other,
moving over to the sysadmin side.
yeah, maybe. But I mean, I don't really like what is he having to do now that he didn't have to do before?
Well, it's not just the version control stuff, but he has to set up repositories and stuff connected to the thing.
Oh, you like own your repository. You like have your own server or whatever.
Well, we're
you're-
just using GitHub.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's our yeah.
But if you just use GitHub, then you just click the button that says make new repository, right?
Yeah.
And then everybody goes get in it in their first folder, and then
Yeah,
they
yeah, yeah.
pull down,
Yeah,
whatever the
Right.
first commit is, and
Yeah.
you're off to the races, right?
I'm not sure what the sysadmin side of things
Okay.
is.
Well,
Not really
I don't know the
my ballpark.
details of Bitbucket and stuff, and I know that there are some differences between Bitbucket and GitHub, and I don't know.
Yeah,
what those are.
right.
Maybe you have to do some.
Well,
different stuff.
it seemed he said it was going to be easier, but while
Okay.
we were using for GitHub, I never used the GitHub website for anything except occasionally to copy out the address of our repository
Yeah.
when I needed to paste it to the command line.
Yeah. So the world I live in is like that, only much worse, in every possible respect.
Well, you say worse, but
more complicated.
before we were doing this,
Uh-huh.
our version control was a marker board
Yeah.
and 2 expo markers.
That's really.
And I would write on the marker board which file my colleague should stay the hell out of, and then I would erase it when I was out of it.
Ah.
And so,
Yeah.
So I think
Moving in the right direction, I used to say. Version control.
That's right.
Yeah. So so I'm just gonna launch in.
Yeah, go.
To
I'm interested in what y'all do
to what
and how it is different. I just wanted a baseline so that you could tell me what was different.
right to what I do.
I do like the little maps that look like train maps, like the little nodes or stations and the little lines or tracks.
Oh, yeah.
between and
So,
the merge and stuff, the merge map.
Where's the good stuff? I'm in this tutorial, and there's like it's like am I in dumb mode of
I'm
this
afraid.
tutorial?
The good stuff is your responsibility.
Comparing.
Making sure you haven't hidden it from you.
I don't want getting started. Who do these people think I am? Yeah.
But see, I feel that way when I actually do want getting started and the tutorial launches into a thing,
Right.
assuming I already know what I'm doing. Then who do
Yeah.
you think I am? If I already knew this, I wouldn't need your tutorial.
Right. I think Gitflow is what I do.
No, that's a more complicated traffic
Yes,
map.
More
Nice.
is better. Once we do. That looks right. Yeah, that's it. Okay. So Atlassian refers to this as the maintenance branch structure.
Oh yeah. Tell me about that.
Okay. So we'll start at the top and work our way down. So in order, the different branch layers or whatever are master, hotfix, release, develop, and features. And with the exception
So
of
is features what corollary to my local copy? It's when I'm playing with
yes.
it. Okay.
Yeah.
So we've now got 5 layers. So I was playing with 3 before.
Yeah.
And my 3 are local, which is corollary to features. It's when I'm working on a new feature, but nobody can see it but me yet.
A little bit different than that, but I think in
you
terms
could
of
have
process,
2 levels.
Yeah.
You could have a sub level where you were the only
Right.
person on a specific feature
Yeah.
branch. But okay. And then the dev is their dev corollary to my dev? Maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then I think their release is correlated to my master.
That sounds
I
likely.
don't think I have a branch.
Because your
today.
master isn't like in front of customers.
No, yeah, that's what it means.
Master right now is live in front of customers.
Yeah.
Every moment of every day.
No. There could be a moment where we hadn't pushed the master branch to the live
Yeah.
servers, but we don't use that
Okay.
that delay for anything in
Yeah,
house.
okay.
But it does.
So
exist.
yeah. So yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Tell me about the 5 layers.
Okay. So the first statement is that like master is like auto deployed,
Oh wow.
right? So master is after development, after code review, after QA review, in front of customers.
Like if you changed master, it's immediately in front of customers.
Yep, it's ready for prime time.
And that is separate from your release. What's release?
So we're gonna go in order.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so let's say, oops, we were wrong. We spelled library,
Mm.
and it made it through QA and all of our system
Mhm.
tests.
Yeah,
and,
yeah, yeah.
and whatever, however that happened, right? So then what would happen is whichever developer had been assigned to go in and make it spell it right or whatever
Mhm.
would branch off of master.
So they
They'd
pull the master. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They, basically rename
Make the change.
master.
Whatever on their
yeah.
local copy they want to call it.
Yeah. And then when they're all done, they're going to push back straight up to master, and they're also going to push down into dev.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay.
But they can't do either one of those things without like a peer review.
What?
So like you've made your change, you spelled it right or whatever,
Uh-huh.
and now you have to go find another developer to give you a +1 on you didn't like mess up the syntax or whatever.
And what does this +1 mean?
And it means it's been checked by another human being.
Is
Another
there
human
is
being
there
gives you a thumbs up.
software that is recording which other human being is giving you this +1?
GitHub does. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So I mean, obviously,
interesting.
individuals are responsible for the quality of the code they write. It's not a mechanism for deferring responsibility.
Right.
But it is a second pair of eyes that says,
Yeah,
okay, you
yeah.
spelled it right, or you did it right, you can do that.
And GitHub would prevent the developer who pulled their own hotfix from just pushing their hotfix?
It can do. We don't. We trust people.
Yeah, we do too, by necessity.
Right.
Like, any of us could
Yeah.
do anything at any time.
Sure. So then there would be a
But
formal pull request
if you were
in both
in a
directions.
if you were in a
yeah.
larger institution or a more rigid institution, GitHub might software require.
Yeah. So
that.
all of our system tests run when on whatever branch you're on. So
Okay.
when you make a hotfix
Uh-huh.
and we pulled from master, we renamed it whatever we wanted to name it on our local or whatever, hotfix
Yeah.
1000
Yeah.
or hotfix changed library to library or library to library,
Yes.
or whatever. And then when we push that branch, we copy as soon as we do work that is worth saving, we make a commit on our local machine
Yeah.
and we push that to a branch named whatever we named our branch.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Right. So then like there's a branch now called change library to
Up
library.
on GitHub.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And at that moment, automatically all of our system test suite will run on that code, and will tell you if you ruined anything
Uh-huh.
catastrophic. But since this is a hotfix, you have to be careful because we know that whatever mistake this wasn't covered by our tests before.
Uh-huh.
Right. It already
Uh-huh.
it already snuck through the lines or whatever.
Yeah.
So usually you would also be responsible for fixing that as
Right.
well. You need to fix the test. How did this bug make it through?
Mhm.
Is there like a way you can do that just in
Oh,
test coverage?
Just
so
by
that-
knowing that it got through, you've made yourself responsible for improving the
Right.
testing.
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay.
So that happens.
Okay.
And again, because it's a hotfix, it's kind of a special tactical, moving quick kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
sure.
it's going to go back up to master. You're done. You got
Yeah.
your thumbs up. You did
Mhm.
your system tests or unit tests or whatever you needed to add to cover it. And then it's also going to go into an identical process to be pulled into develop.
Yeah.
Because develop might have new stuff that master didn't have.
Yeah.
So it needs to go through.
and it needs to get merged down as well.
Right. Yeah.
That's cool.
So that's that level.
Yeah.
Okay. So notice that the hotfix did not go into a release.
I see that.
Right. So release is like waiting in the wings. Releases are pretty regular for us.
Is it
every-
the end of your sprint?
Yeah, every iteration
like
or so.
the release is related to the Scrum cycle?
It doesn't, strictly speaking, have to be. The release being completed by the dev team lines up really closely with the iteration. But then there's usually like a QA buffer to.
Oh. Yeah, we don't have one of
You
those.
don't have, yeah,
There's two of us. We
if
are
you don't
our
have a
own
QA,
buffer. Yeah.
you may not have a QA buffer. Yes, that's
Right,
That's
right.
that's fine and reasonable. Yeah, so all of that's true and good.
Okay.
So release
Mm-hmm.
will usually contain a number of features, and will go out to customers in batches.
Mm-hmm.
Usually of related things. Like usually there's like one big overall arcing customer-facing feature that they got.
Well,
that they
that's
would recognize.
sensible for a Scrum sprint anyway, to be generically unified.
Cool. Yep. Okay, so then below releases, there is develop. So develop is like the central repository for like the team and passing work items back and forth to the team. I shouldn't have used the term repository there.
Yeah.
It's like our tool room.
Lowercase r.
Yeah,
not-
lowercase r.
not-
It's like our tool room.
Yeah.
So develop has also, everything on develop has also passed peer review and the build tests and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But has not yet passed like a QA review, or probably has not passed a QA review.
So do you feel like there's a pretend QA line between the development layer and the release layer?
Yeah.
Like you could have a red dotted line pretending to be there, and it's like a
Right.
blood-brain barrier.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
So QA doesn't edit code.
Yeah,
You know.
Right.
So they wouldn't get like their own dot like in Gitflow,
right.
but that's where that task.
But they
happens.
look at it between dev and anything above dev, and they
Yeah.
send comments back down to the people who
Right.
are trying to send
Including
stuff up across.
Unrelease that.
Yeah, right. If something got back.
Right. Yeah.
Got past them.
Yes. Yeah. Go do
It's
that.
a lucky goalie who gets to pull balls out of the goal.
Yeah,
when
isn't that great?
necessary. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So, like, if a new employee came on the team or whatever, if we got a new human resource or whatever, the first thing they would do is pull from develop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, at any one time, there can theoretically be multiple hot fixes, but usually aren't. There could even theoretically be multiple releases.
Well, maybe you're getting ready for the
Right.
If you had
Yeah,
asynchronous teams working on the next
there could be
cycle or
very
something.
end finish up work for like one
Yeah.
person before the one that's going to go out like
Yeah.
this week or whatever, and everybody else could have moved on to the next one or whatever.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
watching the Jira guy's video about Jira-led Scrum cycles, and he specifically suggested 2 weeks
Mhm.
as a length of a sprint.
Mhm.
One reason is because 1 week is not enough time to necessarily get enough done, and if it's like 4 weeks, well then jerks are going to start adding features to your
Yeah.
Scrum mid-cycle. You
Yeah.
can't just push them off. But then he secretly admitted that one of his other serious reasons for choosing 2 weeks is 52 weeks a year divided by 2 is 26 letters of the alphabet, and you can name each cycle
Right.
Release A 2016, Release B 2016.
Right.
And you get a unique address with each letter of the alphabet,
Well,
as
that's
long as your
neat.
Scrum cycles are exactly 2 weeks long.
Yep. Talk about calendars later.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's developed, and there are always multiple features, like in
development.
in process.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the tricky caveats here is that we only do peer reviews, like formal peer reviews, get a +1 before you can push it or whatever. Pull requests, that's what those are called. Going into develop.
Okay.
But you could have them on features. You know what I mean?
No, where?
Like you and I could be working on the same feature.
Oh, and then I would need your approval before I pushed my changes to
Yeah.
this feature branch that we're mutually working on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see how the feature thread could be.
But usually that's inefficient. Usually it's more
Well,
efficient. to have
yeah, but it
minimal
depends on the size of the project.
Yeah.
Like, somebody's feature branch, you know, in Microsoft Office, their feature branch is bigger than my whole
Yep.
project branch, and so it'd be a nested thing. Within their feature branch, they'd have all those layers. And,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yep. So that's that. I love all of that stuff. I think all of that is really neat and super cool.
Yeah.
And
Collaborating well is the trick.
it is. It is actually the most important thing in the universe. So yeah, that's all good stuff.
Cool.
I am really interested in how IoT. I'm moving out of that. I'm slightly closing that.
Oh, hang on. You asked me my stack, and I said lamp,
Yeah.
cake on top of the P to
Yeah.
MVC. So what is your stack? I don't actually know.
I can't tell you that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right then. Carry on.
Okay, I don't have any reservations about.
Dun 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 dun. Never mind. Go ahead with what you were saying.
All right, so I'm really interested in how development on IoT specific projects will
What's IoT?
Internet of Things.
Oh, IoT, Internet
Yeah.
of Things. I see.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Development on Internet of Things.
Will change that or twist that or stuff.
Oh,
right?
change the nature of
Yeah. So hardware QA is its own thing.
Yeah.
And software QA is its own thing.
Yeah.
And there are, for consumers, I think there is this promise that IoT products will be a best of both worlds. It'll be the best of stuff, coffee pots and locks and cars,
Mhm.
and the best of software. You'll be able to download new
Yeah,
features
new.
and everything will be modular and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
But for developers, it's kind of a worst of both worlds, because you still have to do all your hardware QA to make sure the thing works.
Yeah.
And you also have to do all your software QA to make sure that the code works and stuff.
Yeah.
And all that stuff about sprints doesn't really fit super
Yeah.
well with the hardware world.
Sure.
Their sprints are usually 2 to 8 years long, and
Yeah.
that just doesn't jive very well. So yeah, I'm super interested in how all of that is going to shake out.
And if you can, in the future, improve the toaster by dropping new code,
Right.
then nothing's ever done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing's ever done, so you can never stop testing.
Yeah.
Um,
Whereas in the past, even if your, processor had catastrophic errors, once it shipped, it shipped.
mm-hmm.
Things are different.
Yeah,
Or
absolutely.
changing.
Absolutely. I think all that stuff is actually super interesting and super
Mhm.
super challenging and will be super fun to figure
I feel
out
like we're pretty early in this.
in the next few years. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely we are.
I don't have answers.
No. I have suggestions, right? So, it's really managing backwards compatibility is a really critical question at every
Mm-hmm.
level,
Yeah.
So for instance, one of the reasons that Windows has we've been picking on Windows a little bit today. One of the reasons that Windows has a lot of problems is because it's
Mm-hmm.
vehemently backwards compatible.
Retroactively. Yeah, usable.
Yeah. So I think that becomes a burden at some point.
Yeah.
But also there's a huge value to that.
Oh, yeah. No, my instinct, of course, is burn it to the ground. We'll just start fresh.
Right.
But there are
Green fields
huge,
forever.
huge good reasons not to just do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I sympathize with
So
the poor bugger.
I don't think that the Roku 1 and the Roku 2 have compatible apps.
Oh, okay.
I think that each app is
didn't know that.
a completely different
But that
app.
seems like the way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Android apps,
Mm-hmm.
you can generally speaking you can install Android apps on older machines and stuff, and then if it has a hardware requirement, well, the camera's not going to work because your phone didn't have a camera,
Right.
or whatever.
Apple used a trick on the iPads that the the first gen iPads didn't have a forward-facing camera,
Mhm.
and so they use that as a requirement in software, even for software that doesn't use cameras at all,
Right.
because the processor isn't up to snuff on the first gen.
Oh.
And so to make sure you've got at least a second gen processor, they check for the
They check
camera,
for the
and then you
front-facing
have to
camera.
have it for tons of games and stuff that don't even use it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's super interesting. From like a business perspective, I think that you have to be super careful about where you're making your money. You know, if you have if you're in the selling locks business, you really don't want to invest in this huge development process to maintain the like apps that people are going to need generation after generation of,
Right.
you know, to make these.
Unless there's revenue connected to the new
Yeah, absolutely.
stuff. You have to relate the revenue to your work.
Yeah, so like Nest is a really good example of that.
I don't know what that is.
Smart thermostats.
Oh, cool.
Right. And so like I think you buy the thermostat and it's like $200, and then you can buy updates for it. They give you more features. So like that's the part where I think it's super sketchy, right?
Yeah, important to get your money in related to all the effort that you're spending on the product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then, like, if 4 years from now is someone who wants to stay up on their Nest gonna have their old Nest updated, or are they gonna, you know what I mean? They're just gonna buy the new Nest. Anyways, it's just
yeah.
I don't know. It's a lot to navigate.
Yeah. No, I definitely believe in aligning the costs to the consumer with the actual costs of production.
Yeah, I mean you gotta be profitable, and it's interesting to me how much internal psychology echoes that. Like workers that feel like they're working on a project that doesn't make a lot of revenue are disgruntled. They're less valued by the business. They're everybody wants to be the hero, right? That's less important than like feeling like you're a good culture match for your place of employment or being treated respectfully or whatever. But I think that
That's weird. What? I don't see it. Okay, so either their division is so important that they really are valued, or their division should be cut.
Do you know Conway's Law?
No.
So Conway's Law is a law of computer science that says that teams that communicate poorly will make systems that communicate poorly. So like a big example of this comes from Adobe, but I don't remember the names of the exact teams. Adobe had one product that sold a lot and made a lot of money. So when they were like doling out, it wasn't a product. It was like a part of Photoshop.
Okay.
It was like a part of, so one of their like big name titles, like After Effects or Photoshop or whatever, had this one component that it was like
that
known
was super
for.
selling.
That was like a team. That was like a driving force for why people would buy it and stuff.
Yeah.
And so they got the lion's share of like the processor allocation, like the memory allocation. Like not just having like the best workers or getting to have more pizza parties, but like on the actual hardware, that thing got over allocated system resources or whatever. And it wasn't a resource intensive thing, right? So it was a waste for the product as a whole. And then there were other things that maybe needed some more processor power, but were not showy things that were harmed by that.
And that led to internal strife.
Yeah, I mean on a certain level. I mean I don't know the details or whatever.
No.
But you get the the
there
idea.
was blood in the streets.
As an analogy, you get
I do.
you get the idea. So I think that's really really critical. Like you're right that you have to, like every business has to grow intelligently, and then close off projects or teams or business components occasionally. I mean that's just part of.
I just feel like if some guy isn't working on the sexiest part of the app, either he is mission critical because even though his thing isn't particularly flashy, it's foundational, and he should feel foundationally related. Or if it's really not, then they should route around the wound.
No, I don't I don't know. It's obviously running a business, particularly a large business, is extremely challenging. But I think in general you just have to like make everyone feel like they're valued and
Yeah.
and respected.
And you should do that by giving them actually valuable things to
Yeah,
do.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You just have to keep fighting impediments.
Yeah.
Keep fighting inefficiencies. Always try to make people as empowered and as competent and as capable and as useful as they can be.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Good deal. Moving on. Next thing.
Next thing.
Yep.
So, if my go-to standard for middle talk,
Mm-hmm.
which is neither small nor large,
Yes.
but could gateway into large, especially if I'm talking to either somebody I know but I haven't seen in a while or somebody I don't really know, is been playing anything good recently?
Like video games?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Well, I have. I've been playing something called Tharsis,
Okay.
and it's very divisive in the community. It's gotten reviews
Like catharsis?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Like that, but without the ka.
Yep.
It's spelled Tharsis. Yes, the end of that. And so the irrelevant plot is that you're on a spaceship on your way to Mars, and you've experienced some catastrophic meteorite hits, and your ship is all falling apart, and you have to keep it together long enough to reach your destination, which is
Okay.
and the gameplay is dice-based allocation of dice. So, say your first turn, it's maybe 10 turns to Mars or something like that, and on your turn at the beginning you have 4 living crew members, and they have a certain number of pips of health and a certain number of dice between 1 and 6 and 5. And so you get 4 crew members to start with, and you will at the very beginning have 2 events which are threatening portions of your ship.
Uh-huh.
And if you don't fix them by the end of your turn, then all your people will lose a pip of health, or your entire ship will lose a pip of structural integrity. And if you lose all of those, your whole ship blows up.
Yeah.
If you lose all your pips of health, your guy dies, and you have fewer guys to allocate. And so it's just allocation of a person is then a block of dice. And so let's say I have a module that needs 12 units of repair before the next turn, or everybody on the ship is going to lose 1 unit of health before the next turn. So I'll send one of my crew members to that module, and I'll roll their dice, and if they have 3 dice at the beginning of this turn, the act of start doing the turn rolls the 3 dice, but then they only have 2 left for the next turn. So all of your people are becoming less effective every turn, and so you have to manage that by allocating resources to getting dice back for the future. And then also, in each event that is threatening the module, some of the numbers, all the dice are 6-sided in this game, some of the numbers will do things, like maybe in this particular event, all the 5s I roll cost me a unit of health. So dice are not only the only tool you have to progress through the game, they are also a potential source of personal threat.
Yeah.
And then you get 1 reroll. So you roll your 3 dice, and then you keep the numbers you like, and you can stash them, and then you can re-roll the ones that were too low. But then that decision is based on what threats happen to be going on in the thing.
Yeah.
And then each character has a superpower that if you roll a 5 or a 6, you can allocate that die to either giving everybody in the module some health back if you're the doctor, or filling up your dice and stuff. And so, to my mind, it fixes Yahtzee. It makes Yahtzee not suck by applying piles and piles and piles of complications on top of it.
Right.
And to others people's minds, it's useless and just straight random. That it's, like, the IGN review is really mean.
Uh-huh.
Like, They really hate it out loud, and I think that's because they didn't get it. Like, did you read early reviews of FTL?
No.
Where they were like, this is nothing but a stupid random number generator. All you can do is die, and it's mindless, and the random number generator kills you. It kills you early or it kills you late, but it sucks, and it's just random.
Yeah.
And that...
Can we just talk about that?
FTL?
Because that's all I want to talk
That's why
about.
I brought it up, is to talk about FTL and the random number generator.
I am really interested in the fact that I don't think human beings have I think, take it as a truism that human beings radically overestimate their own abilities consistently, all the time. We all do. We're all just delusional about...
Can't even finish sentences.
Can't even make a sentence go out right. We're all just delusional about how, like, capable and competent and intelligent we are.
See, I'm not sure that delusion goes monodirectionally. I feel like sometimes it goes... we can't, when really we can.
The instance that I'm particularly talking about is people that think they understand randomness. I'm pretty confident that there are some teachable things that are that a lot of people know that human beings are basically incapable of thinking about. So, like, dividing by zero, the idea of a value being undefined.
Really undefined.
Really undefined is I think, an idea that is on the verge of what the human mind is capable of, what a normal human mind is capable of grasping. I think we can learn to deal with it. We can learn to accept it.
Work around it.
But I really feel like that's like a black spot in like our
fourth
vision.
dimensional geometry.
Yeah, like fourth dimensional
geometry. You're really never
geometry.
going to be good at it. You can just learn to manage the
right.
problem.
Yeah, you can build systems for managing it, but there are some things like, that's a wolf, I should run away, that human beings really get.
Yeah.
You know, or she's smiling, that means she likes me, or whatever.
Or she's about to slit your throat.
Or both.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, and so I think randomness is another one of those. I think that normal, intelligent people raised in the developed world think they know what random means, and I think they're all wrong. I think absolutely everyone is wrong about.
No, I feel like there are definitely people who have a reasonable grasp of it.
Okay, well, you know, we could.
I'm not claiming to be one of them.
We could argue about what reasonableness is.
Yeah. I just feel like there's some mathematicians in every reasonably sized city that probably have a good grasp of things.
You've convinced me. There are certainly people who understand randomness better than I do.
Yeah.
But I don't think taking the review that you pantomimed that you gave voice to, I don't think that person was wrong. I think that person just doesn't know what the word random means.
No. I think there's a level of failure first, that we both played FTL, so we know that if after you are good at FTL, you will win most of the time.
Yeah.
And that the whole game is about managing the swings that are out of your control.
Right.
It's about finding, where you want the arc to end, and you have to deal with the wibblies in your line and make it arc past the
and no one will always win.
Yeah, right. That's true.
Right.
But that's not what it's about.
So I think that fact alone destroys some people's sense of reality.
Well, those are substandard people.
Well, I mean, you feel free.
You just play more than once. So you don't bet your whole life on a single run through on a game where you don't necessarily win every game.
What is so there are known games like Connect 4 and Tic Tac Toe where there is no randomness to the game, to the structure of the game, and where every iteration of the game has been written.
Solved games. Yeah.
Right.
That's true. There are solved games.
And then what's the name for games like Go and chess where we can rationalize that there is a finite number of games, but there's no randomness, and we can't write out all the chess games.
We can't deal with the combinations.
For all the Go games.
I don't know what word you're hunting for.
I think the term for not being randomness is perfect. I think they call them perfect games like chess and
any
Go.
game that has complete information and no stochasticity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, so most human beings don't like those games.
Perfect game?
Yeah, most people don't like chess and don't like checkers.
And they like prefer poker.
They prefer poker, and virtually all video games have some pseudo-random component.
Yeah.
Right. But there is this like delusion of control, particularly in games that are like narrative based. So leaving aside, Zoop and Tetris and, puzzle games and stuff. Like, people that play Call of Duty have this like delusion of empowerment that is essential to the framework of the game. You have to believe you are a soldier running around shooting people, and that your actions have a definite effect on the outcome.
I have difficulty talking about Call of Duty because I think it's not good. So
Okay,
do you have a different...
name a different game.
Well, I don't know. Is what you're saying equally true to, say, TF2?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're the
I have other reasons to hate COD. So can we use TF2 as
most people who
to...
play Team Fortress 2
Okay.
go into it thinking, if I am a good player, I will win, and if I am a bad player, then I will lose.
Well, win more often than...
Yeah, that there is a direct correlation between whether or not I get the thumbs up, pat on the back,
the win,
life-affirming win,
yeah,
and whether or not I played well.
With your experience with the tech.
Yeah.
How does that fall? Or
how is that a delusion?
Yeah, let's talk about Street Fighter.
I have a couple of nested concepts
I
here.
thought you might be saying something about.
So first off, it's make believe, right? It's just a game.
Okay, yeah, but
right.
It could be a metaphor for something real, and if not,
sure. It is what it is. Win at a game is an entirely subjective thing. You can no more win at a game than you can win at watching a movie or reading a book.
I think I disagree.
Okay.
But keep talking, and then I'll see where you're wrong, and then I'll point it out.
In the same way that I think you and I both take it as canon, that if you want to read a movie, you should watch it more than once.
Yeah.
Right? If you want to read a game,
you
should play it more than once, right?
Okay. Yeah, sure. Play it more than once.
And
probably more important in games than movies.
Yeah.
Because there's nested parts of the tree that you didn't get to on your first run.
Right. And if you're really trying to read a game, you should look at those too.
Yeah.
Like
all the branches.
The fact that I played a game once and there was a happy path that I liked.
Yeah.
Should not mean that you think you have a good understanding of what that game is.
If you were trying to write a monograph on Mass Effect, you would have to see all of the endings. You would see each path.
Yeah.
In order to even think about writing something about it.
Yeah. That in the case of like of competitive, quote unquote competitive games, that means losing.
Yeah.
And most human beings can't like think that way. Most people buy into the win a video game means it gave me a green you win thumbs up and I got more points, and
because they're purchasing wins off Candy Crush?
Yeah.
Okay, fine, but I know that there are people who are out there purchasing wins on Candy Crush, but
I don't know. So I
just talking about Street Fighter players.
Sure.
If you're winning tournaments, you are doing better than the other people in the tournaments. And you should have lost matches, not just in the tournament. You shouldn't lose in the tournament, but in your training,
right? You
should have been losing matches in order to figure out the Zangief versus
Chun-Li
and stuff and all the
no serious Street Fighter player would ever just go to IGN and look up the best matches list to figure out if my opponent picks Zangief, I should pick Gold. No one would ever do that.
Right. Yeah. No, losing is a part of the training. But I feel like winning tournaments is evidence of genuine superior mastery of the game than the other people at that tournament that day. Okay, why not?
No, because so it's like Bayesian statistics, right? You have to imagine a universe in which that tournament was run an infinite number of times.
I don't have to, but I can pretend. Go ahead.
Well, if you want,
no, go ahead.
So if the goal is to develop a mental process through which, over time, you can have an increasingly accurate understanding of the system, You have to give equal weight to wins, losses, conclusions, right? And also iterations of experimentation, right? So this is an epistemic modality. It means speaking with a way that references your degree of certainty. Let's take three sentences which are very similar but critically different, right? I live in a bunker and have for the last 40 years. It's not raining outside. I'm a regular person. It's not raining outside. And I'm a meteorologist with 30 years of experience and access to Doppler radar, etc. It's not raining outside, right? So you're absolutely right that the one time that whatever the last Grand National International Street Fighter tournament was, one, I don't know the name of the biggest Street Fighter tournament, but you're absolutely right that there was one conclusion and one person did come out on top.
Yeah.
Right. But I think it's objectively delusional to say that person was objectively the best Street Fighter player.
Did the best.
Yeah, sure, you're right. Yeah, the is the, one is one, you're right. That one time that we did that thing, that we know how that went, yes. Agreed.
Yeah. Those guys tend to continue to do the best the next time they run that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there is, that obviously, it's an exciting sport.
Yeah.
Right? Lots of ups, downs, a lot of ins and outs, a lot of what have you.
Sure.
But yeah. I mean, good players do well, and bad players don't come back. Yeah.
I'm not sure there's any stochasticity in Street Fighter. I don't know.
You don't know if there's any random?
I think it may be straight.
Well, so
the information's not exactly perfect. I mean, you don't necessarily know everything your opponent has done, is doing. But maybe that's not even true.
So
maybe
I know
it's
that,
even perfect information.
So I know that priority doesn't exist, right? Like, some people think or thought or still say that, like, if you do this hit and that hit at the same time, one has priority.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's all about hitboxes, and some hitboxes are just longer than others.
Right.
So it meets on that half
different
or whatever.
pixels.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not like there's a logic tree in the game or whatever. I don't know. So there's got to be, the term I'm going to use is pulse width modulation. I know that's not accurate, right? So there's a sample rate of the game where it's taking in the controls.
Yeah.
And then there's, like, you clicking buttons.
Yeah.
Right? And none of that, like, frame countiness is actually human readable.
Right.
So you can know how many frames, you can have a very good instinct for how many frames later your thing is.
Yeah.
But I don't believe there's anyone in the world that can, like, know the sample, see the sample rate of the game or whatever.
Yeah. I think that's all true, but I still don't think there's any stochasticity. I think it's a purely deterministic thing. That if you used exactly the same inputs every round, they would end exactly the same way. We could test that with emulators. We could bop in and play back the same key hits at the exact same moments. And I think that the match runs identically every time. 100% of the time. Exactly identically, given exactly identical inputs.
Yeah.
I don't actually know that, but I think it's true.
Yeah. I just stress out about the word exactly. You said so many exactlys that
you think it doesn't matter in human play?
Yeah.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
But
yeah, you're absolutely right. That it is more like chess than it is like poker. Random is not a big part of Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the thing about FTL and about Tharsis and about poker is that the core of the game is managing the ups and downs. And so I think that it's just a mistake to make that a complaint.
Right.
That what's great about FTL is that when you're good at it, you can deal with huge swings in fortune.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's a feature, not a bug.
I agree. And but it obviously that selects out a certain number of people who want every game to be like Street Fighter. I put in the same buttons.
Yeah.
I clicked the same buttons as I did last time when I wanted FTL and I didn't win this time.
Yeah. Right.
It's broken. It's broken now.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Good deal. I think
We've talked about things.
I think we've talked interestingly about
Interesting things. Somewhat
Yeah.
interesting. Yes.
Like,
Good meeting.
good deal.
meeting.
Later.
Yeah.